What is going on, Only Playbook fans? Week 16, cue the Jim Mora. Is it Jim Mora? Is that his name?
Playoffs?
Playoffs? Yeah.
Yep.
So are you in? Are you not? If you're in, this is the place for you. We are doing a special episode this week where you and I, Shashowt, are just going to walk the people through our process in setting our lineups. We are in the semifinals in our league of record. Where you were the first seed in the bye. I was the second seed in the bye. And then I'm in the semifinals in my other league, barely squeaked in, 6-8 record, gonna be tricky. And you are in the semifinals in your other league as well.
Yep.
So a lot to unfold. Lineup setting in the playoffs sounds like it's cake. It's like, oh, just play your best players. Well, if you're playing Patrick Mahomes over Joe Flacco, you'd be losing. So sometimes playing your best players is not the strategy. So we have so much to dive into. Before we get started, how are you doing? How are you feeling in the midst of the semifinals kicking off here?
Dude, I have a fun story to share with you about what happened this morning after I woke up and right when I got to work. So the playoffs, right? Like the animosity and the intensity is at an all-time high. Everybody's at the edge of your seat. Like you might be in your meeting at work, talking about like how you're going to prepare for your next year. But the back of your mind, you're just like, damn, is Stafford going to let me down again this week? Like, should I bench him for Joe Flacco? So my friends, my other league that I'm in the playoffs in are going through the same stuff. We're all going through the same stuff. This is what happened. He put a waiver claim for the Bears defense, right?
Ooh.
So he's ranked number 1. He had a bye week last week. Now it's him, my friend Adil. Him is Danny. My friend Adil, they're 1-2. And I, barely beat out last week and made this week. I am playing Danny now, who wanted that Bears defense. Instead, the 5th overall guy, who is not in the top 4, picked up the Bears defense because he's just fucking around. He's playing because you can play, right? It's not against the rules to continue. Nope. That's the thing. So there was an argument it's been going on all day, right? My mentality is if given the opportunity to play fantasy football, I am going to play fantasy football, right? If given the opportunity to make a change in my lineup, I will do it. He woke up this morning, didn't see the Bears team on his lineup. What he said was, hey, commissioner, can you change this? Why is a guy that's not in the playoffs picking up players? That shouldn't be allowed. And I'm like, so when did you wake up and saw that as a rule in the rule book, right? And other people are chiming in. He's asking people in his other league, and they're like, yeah, that's messed up, dude. Like, it's herd mentality, weak minds just communicating with each other. It's just weak-ass shit, whatever. So I throw in some gifts, Kobe gifts with a soft emoji. Like, grow up. Grow a pair, Danny boy. Things happen. It's out of your control. Someone else picked him up. Big whoop, move on. Instead, he's like, oh, I'm going to give you guys hell for 12 months this year. So just save yourself the trouble and put him on my team. And I'm like, bro, this guy is nuts. He's losing my mind. He's losing his mind. Anyways, that's where I was trying to get at, is that he's not going to get this team on his team, because that's not how fantasy football works. You have to be a man and you have to play. His idea was like, oh, I'm playing Shashowt, like I'm scraping for every chance I can get. Whatever, fine, sure, right? Because I've owned this league for the past since its origin, right? So he's trying to find an edge, but you can't do that. And he's a nice guy, but he's mentally incapacitated right now because it's the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you just threw that in fantasy football, like sphere out there, like fantasy football Twitter, majority of people would be like, unless the league has that rule in stone that once you're out of the playoffs you can't make waiver claims, bro, it's fair game. My other league, same thing. This morning there were 2 waiver claims that went in, and they were both by the same team, and it was the 7th place guy. He picked up the Bengals defense, and he picked up Singletary. I'm like, bro, you're so annoying, but I actually respect it. I was like, I was trying to pick up the Bengals defense, but he was like, no. And so I was like, man, okay, but I respect the game. I respect the hustle. He's playing for 7th place, and this dude's the only guy active in the waivers. I mean, shit. So I'm sorry, Danny boy. I definitely side with the majority that unless that rule is determined by the league before the season starts, it's all fair game, man. It is all fair game. So, no, that pivots right into the perfection that is setting your lineup, because these are the dilemmas, and this is how serious it gets. People start getting mad. So it gets pretty serious when, you're not getting the defense that you want to pick up. So, again, 2 teams in the playoffs, 2 teams in the playoffs. So I've got that correct, right? 2 teams in the playoffs. All right. So I will start us off. I'm going to start not league of record first, and then I'll jump to you and we'll do not league of record, and then we'll talk about our league of record lineups.
Let's do it.
So let me kick us off. I will share my screen and we will get my not league of record team up here. So this is league of record. So not league of record. Here we go. So we are in the semifinals. JJ all the way is me on the left. 6-8 barely snuck in with the 6 seed. I am playing against the 2 seed, the guy that got the bye. Right now, projections have me winning. Okay. But here's what's crazy. Let's just go down the lineups. I'll tell you about the players that I know are set. I can't really do anything about it, so there's no sense wasting time. Dak Prescott, my quarterback, pretty set in stone. I had a very big emotional meltdown in the chat when Dak was putting up 6 points last week, and I was about to not make the second round. And I know that, I was very emotional about it because I talked to you and I'd thrown it in the chat, and we talked about, do I, pivot from Dak and start Stafford because of the matchup? And the fantasy football in me said no, because, Dak's been incredible this year. There's really no reason to pivot away from him. But the football fan and watcher in me, and, holding on to knowing the emotional side of, what the Cowboys can do on the road. All of these heartbreaks come up to the surface when you're in the midst of some sort of decision like this, right? And lo and behold, 2 points was what separated my loss from a win. And if that was the reason I lost was Dak Prescott, you bet your ass I would be livid and just be shitting on the Cowboys for the rest of my life. But long story short, he got the job done. So against Miami, I don't love the matchup, Shashowt, but I'm in the semifinals. Dak's what got me here. There's really no reason to believe that I should be looking at waivers for another quarterback, right? Even if it is Joe Flacco.
Yeah, no, dude. Joe Flacco's not even in my game script as far as throwing the ball goes. I think he's just kind of squeaking in there. I wouldn't get too hung up on that last game. But yeah, dude, honestly, this is the worst game the Cowboys have played all year. They're going to improve on whatever they just messed up on, right? And you're getting Miami. You're going to get scored on. You got to keep up. At the end of the day, Dak might throw 3 picks if all else, the worst case scenario, 3 picks, right? But that means he's throwing a lot, and you're going to get all these other studs involved. He's going to get you a good amount of points. I'm not saying 32 points, but, higher chance than Joe Flacco getting you 32 points this week. And sometimes you got to have players like that on your lineup.
Yeah, I completely agree. So Dak set up for me. It's a Dak versus Purdy matchup. So, battle of the MVP race, basically, for the semifinals here.
Baker Mayfield's available.
Oh, dude. You don't want to know, man. You don't want to know. We'll look.
Oh, no.
We will look, and he's not. Somebody just picked up Baker, I think. So Baker is not available. So I dodge a bullet there. Otherwise, I would be in another dilemma. So here's my biggest thing here. So let's talk about my skill possessions. I have Saquon Barkley and Tony Pollard, and my flex right now, I'm starting Joe Mixon, right? So the 3 running back lineup in a half-point PPR. I already don't like that. I already don't like that. But my receivers are Devontae Adams and Justin Jefferson. So what I can do on the bench here is Puka is a receiver I can flex. That would mean I would have to bench one of my running backs. Ezekiel Elliott without Ramondre Stevenson, I think would be a automatic start for me. And at that point, I would honestly be debating if I bench Saquon Barkley. I think that would be a realistic debate.
100%. Also, don't forget, it's a heavy snow game in New England, okay, or in Denver, wherever they're playing. It's snowing hard, and the high, I think the highest temperature is 28 degrees or something, which is freezing. So with precipitation, whether that's rain or snow, there's going to be precipitation along with freezing temperatures. I don't know how you can throw out Ramondre Stevenson in a useless game like that when they're not going to make the playoffs. So there's a really good chance Ezekiel Elliott carries the ball against Denver, and you're hoping Saquon does well against a pissed off Eagles team.
So would you, out of those 3 guys, right? Or I guess 4, let's talk about the 4, because I have Mixon at Pittsburgh, which my problem with Mixon is I traded for him and I just don't start him because you've seen the guys on my team. And then you look at his points and all he does is put up consistency. And the sad thing about the consistency is you look at the touchdown column and that's where the consistency truly lies. And I know how you feel about touchdown dependent guys. You know how I feel about touchdown dependent guys. But I just sit there and watch this guy put up 13 plus points on my bench every week. So what do I do here?
Dude, listen, you are talking to this may be the greatest fantasy football team I've ever assembled, but they are the most touchdown dependent team I have ever assembled as well. Right? CD Lamb scoring touchdowns like nobody's business. Freaking Rashad White gets a receiving touchdown every single game. I have Mostert, who is dude, that shit can't last forever. I have 2 more weeks for that shit to last. Can it happen? I don't think so. So It's not going to work all the time. And now you're throwing another one of those players into that exact same scenario. I freaking hate that scenario. But I mean, if you had like if you're starting players that you're not so sure about, that's one thing. But these guys that you have up there have a higher, they don't even have a higher chance of touching the ball because Mixon touches the ball often, especially with Jamar Chase now not playing this week. Mixon just added like 4.5 points to his total by just
at Pittsburgh too.
At Pittsburgh too. It's tough, dude. They're gonna find open spaces to throw the ball because TJ Watt is there, and they want plays away from TJ Watt. So that's a lot of screens on the other side. That's like 4 catches guaranteed. And I don't know how often the backup Chase Brown is being used. It's like a pretty close split lately, but Mixon's still getting the touchdown. So he's not high on this list. I think you have it accurately placed as a flex consideration. But tell me why Puka Nacua is not getting to play in your team.
Yeah, so that's my next debate here. So my real dilemma is I don't love either of my running backs. I don't love Barkley and I don't love Pollard. I don't like either of their matchups. Miami, they're going to be playing for behind. Pollard also, like, let's be real. Look at this volume. 12 carries, 15 carries, 12 carries, 13 carries, 11 carries. It's not amazing, right? He's got a 20 in there, a 15 and a 16. But Rico Dowdle's really dipped into his production. And when Pollard also isn't scoring touchdowns, he's putting up 6, 7, 5, 6. So, like, the touchdown dependency also exists for Tony Pollard, despite how crazy this Dallas offense is. So, my realistic situation here is I am in a world where if Ezekiel Elliott is the running back this week and there's no Ramondre, I am considering Mixon Elliott, benching Barkley, benching Pollard, and then Puka in my flex. So I go 3 receiver heavy. And both of my top 2 running backs sit on my bench to show. That is what I'm dealing with this week. But it's the semifinals. I need the most amount of points possible. And the other aspect of this is let's look at the matchup of who I'm playing. Because, again, am I playing for a floor? Am I playing for consistency? Do I need to shoot for the stars because my team I'm playing against is an absolute juggernaut? I would say it's a little bit in between. Brock Purdy, been unbelievable, right? No denying Brock Purdy. He's quarterback 4 on the season. That doesn't even feel like it's real. He does play Baltimore, really tough matchup, but it is Monday night and it is San Francisco. So I don't know that I necessarily believe in tough matchups when the 49ers come into play. I don't know if you agree with me.
Right. I agree with you completely.
So for Baltimore, doesn't really matter. DeAndre Swift, not been great. He has not been great. And I really hope this is what I see in terms of consistency of what he does. But he plays the Giants, who haven't been like really good, but they haven't played the Giants yet. They play him 2 of the last 3 games. I do think there's a floor for DeAndre Swift, at least against the Giants, where he hasn't found the end zone in 4 straight weeks.
There's no goal line touchdowns unless it's on a push handoff, which rarely happens.
Exactly. And I thought even last week with Hurts' illness, I was like, okay, from the one, maybe with the illness, they won't tush push. No, they tush push. So obviously a week removed from the illness, they're obviously going to tush push more. So I don't mind playing against DeAndre Swift. Jahmyr Gibbs, man, this dude is scary to play against. Dude. He has the 5.9, 9.3s, but he's also got the 23s and the 24s. He's playing the Vikings defense though. So do we trust the Vikings defense against Gibbs, or is that one of those Fugazi situations where the defense as a whole, great blitz, great stuff, but these individual contributors still probably going to put up some decent numbers?
Oh man, it's a divisional game. Our first time playing the Lions in a very long time. It's impossible to predict how this is going to go. It is at home in Minnesota, like the 3rd loudest crowd, so that could play a role in the game script and whatnot. But one thing you can rest assured is we're not going to run away with the game. So Jahmyr Gibbs will always be playing this game, right? It's not one of those games they're facing San Francisco and Jahmyr Gibbs could be done. That's just not that's not the case. If anything, he will be used more because the game will be really close, in my opinion. And if the game's not close, he's probably going to get more touches later in the game because he's younger and they don't want to injure Montgomery right before the playoffs. He'll probably get a little bit more. So this is one of those days I don't really feel. I'm not a big Gibbs guy. I don't believe in split carry backs. I will never draft one, even if they're like right there, unless I've filled out my running back crew. But it's this uncomfortableness I'm feeling with Gibbs that they're finally getting like more comfortable using him, and all it takes is one play, and it's the Vikings, dude. We are good on defense because of the blitzing. We are not good on defense because we have stars out there that are fast and do this, do that. It's the fact that we blitz and we prevent teams from throwing a lot. But what do the Lions do so well? They run the ball really well. So it's difficult. It's not a guaranteed. It's a better play than Swift by a lot, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I do like that they're, obviously the split carry situation. I'm not playing against like a CMC who I know is going to touch the ball every single time, but he's also in every single time he touches the ball, it could be a home run. So it's definitely fearful. Similar thing with Debo. The man's just been possessed. Yeah. Obviously, I have him in the other league, so it's fun in one league, but not fun in another league. But the thing that he's been possessed about is also touchdowns. So if he doesn't score a touchdown, I could be seeing a single-digit game. Again, it's Baltimore, so they're really good against the pass. So don't dislike the matchup. We talked about Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra's going to get his, bro. It's against the Vikings. Again, secondary is not ideal. Pass catchers across the middle. I think he's going to be a PPR machine. Same thing with Hawkinson. He's on the other side, and he's playing against Detroit, whose pass defense is awful. So I'm expecting a ton of points there. Jaden Reed in the flex, he's questionable, but as much as I say Jaden Reed, whatever, like you look at these numbers and you can't really ignore them. Double-digit points in 5 of the last 6 weeks, 7 of the last 9 weeks, 3 touchdowns sprinkled in there. He seems to be their best guy. Tucker's been awesome last couple of weeks. This guy just picked him up luckily. And then my most fearful matchup is the Cleveland defense is playing against Case Keenum and the Houston Texans.
Yeah, I don't love that at all. Damn. That
sucks. My only other question before we pivot to your team here is, if you're my roster and you have these 3 defenses, where are you leaning? And talk to me kind of through your thought process. I have Kansas City against Vegas. Yeah. I have Chicago against Arizona. And I have the Jets against the Commanders.
Why are those 2 not considered over the Las Vegas recent offense that is kind of doing pretty good?
So the reason they're not over it is no other reason than I think that's just who was in my lineup last week, so I haven't made the change. If my lean is I want to start Chicago.
It's rainy, it's windy, high of like 26, I believe, or even 20. This is the game with the high of 20.
And you have a team that's used to playing indoors and in Arizona coming there to play with nobody to throw the football to except Trey McBride. Does that seem like that's my thought process, in the sense that I thought the Bears were a no-brainer, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something, or there wasn't another defense that I'm like, oh, wait, what am I? I could be starting this guy instead.
There is one more defense, and you have the other defense too. It's going up against Washington, right? They're now fighting for a good pick in the draft. Mm-hmm. I don't see them going extra hard to trying to win this game over the Jets at all. They're just going to be – and who's starting? They said Sam Howell's still their quarterback, but, Brissett came in and kind of lit stuff up for a little bit. That might change. I don't know, but, Sam Howell has the power to put up a lot of points. So that is one thing. That's one reason why the Jets shouldn't be started. But the Jets also have power to be very aggressive. Out of these 3 defenses you have, the Jets are probably the most aggressive defense, but the safest defense here is Chicago, because the weather's in your favor. It's a whack-ass Cardinals team. And then the Chiefs are benefiting a lot from just being like a stable defense, but they haven't really faced go down. They faced New England, Buffalo, sure, Green Bay, and Las Vegas, and
they already faced Vegas and put up 2, and I can't have a 2 in the semifinals. That's unacceptable.
It's difficult. It's a division game. These games are pretty close. I think the rain, Chicago, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Isn't it but I also, the juju is going against that game, because I just had a 24-hour argument on my other league because of Chicago Bears defense. So, but yeah, really, I mean, yeah, that's the whole Danny thing. He was very angry that.
Oh yeah, exactly. And I'm pretty sure in our other league we'll talk about it, I might have Chicago. Do I have Chicago defense in that league too? I don't know. Yes, so I mean, it's one of those where, do you ever factor in the fact that you're not putting all your eggs in one basket? Like, I have 2 leagues, I don't want to start the same defense, or if it's a good enough matchup, it shouldn't matter at all.
I like to put the same team in both leagues, because
you do.
Because you made that decision because you ruled out every possible scenario and you thought that was the best possible option. So why would you not use that same best possible option in another league, unless you have a better option? Which, I mean, Chicago Bears defense, the weather is in your favor. It's Arizona hasn't really done much. Now, are you going to see like a 3-touchdown game from McBride? Like, if that's your best case scenario, Hollywood Brown. Since Halloween, he hasn't done shit, so I'm kind of scarred. But Hollywood Brown hasn't done anything. You're looking at, Wilson's been out for a couple games. Their best player is McBride, and Chicago has shown the last couple of weeks that they are one of the best defenses in the league. So it's difficult. It's hard. You're gonna have to make this decision closer to game day, depending on weather. I feel like just see how it goes in the morning and fire it up.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think I lean Chicago as well. Again, that's my process. In an ideal world, I'm benching Barkley, Pollard. I'm starting Mixon and Elliott. Never thought I'd be there. And then I'm starting Puka in my flex. I'm going 3 receivers. I thought about the world where I'm benching Devontae Adams, Shashowt. And it's one of those where if the results are good and I bench Devontae Adams, am I really going to be able to forgive myself? Versus if I played one of my first round players and he ends up putting 7 to 9 points up, I kind of expected that because that's kind of where his floor right now seems to be. So I mean, again, I thought about it, but I just don't see a world where I can.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I'm in the same boat, but you also have a better team than the other guy, like overall. So, you're projected more points as well. So you have the room to kind of adjust a little bit, but you should go whenever you have a better team, you should go with more consistent players rather than shoot for the moon players, right? So, and that's exactly what you're doing with this lineup in front of you. So the only thing, from a outside perspective, if Mixon takes a seat and Nacua takes the role, I wouldn't be totally against that either. But it is New Orleans, and New Orleans does tend to play, weird, and it is a Thursday night game. So I don't know if I want to start the week off with one of my, spots taken because of Thursday night football. I don't know.
Yeah, and you hate that. It's the playoffs, and let's say Puka comes up, I play him on Thursday, and he gets me like 7. It's just the worst feeling in the world going into the weekend. But, glass half full, he gets you like even 15 or more, and you're like, dude, see you in the finals. So you're already starting to make plans. But no, I'm with you. All right, I spent way too much time on my team. Let me stop sharing mine. Give me your other league. Let's do the sharing thing, and let's see.
Okay. All right, here we go. I am now sharing my screen. Should be popped up now. Do you see it?
Okay. I've added it to the stage, and there it is.
Do you see my screen now?
I do. Right. Yes.
So 8-6, right? Oh, it's 5th place. This is first place, 9-5. One game away.
One game away.
I scored more points than this man as well. However, this is our matchup. I got Baker Mayfield starting as of 1 hour ago. Over Kyler Murray because of the rain situation and a low of 45. Okay, so it's not freezing, but there's a 55 chance of precipitation. However, this is today, I believe. I think Yahoo gives you today's weather, so that kind of tricks up the people that aren't familiar with this stuff. So that's the debate, right? He's got Fields, but the rain might actually be favor of Fields because they're going to be forced to run more read options. It's Fields versus Mayfield. He takes the cake there. Also, because Mayfield's a lot of his points came from big plays. He's had some couple of big plays the receivers have made that just kind of, he had like a 60-yard pass and a screen pass taken to the house just last week that inflated his points quite a bit. So I have to take all that under consideration. It is Jacksonville. They are fake news. They are the AFC version of the Lions. Bad.
Yep.
So I'm not too worried. But I feel more comfortable starting Baker Mayfield than Kyler Murray at this moment. We will see how we proceed.
I lean the same way.
Right. I mean, I think that's a smart move. I also face Debo, right? But he does face Baltimore, and they have Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen in the middle of the field. The middle of the field is what Debo Samuel takes advantage of. He's just running past weak-ass linebackers, and he gets to the secondary, and the safety can't even get to him, right? That's his bread and butter, and now he faces the top tandem in the league. So I am projecting Debo Samuel doesn't do Debo Samuel things this game unless he makes some plays on a deep pass or a deep route. I think San Francisco's thinking the same thing. I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. Debo Samuel won't be doing things behind the line of scrimmage or near the line of scrimmage this game. It's going to be more deeper down the field. So hopefully it's like a 17-point game from Debo Samuel. CeeDee Lamb, not much to be talked about there. He'll get his targets and somehow make it past 10 points. Hopefully he gets me 30. I don't know, but there's a guy named Jalen Ramsey that's going to be all over him. So we'll see how that goes. Chris Olave is now starting, right? He's cleared. There was an ankle injury.
No designation as of today's practice.
What do you think about rolling with him? We just said, being scared of starting Puka Nacua, I'm going with Chris Olave Thursday night as my second wide receiver, not even my flex.
So, yeah, I have Olave in the other league, so that's something that I am also kind of debating. My thing with Chris Olave is we kind of know what he's going to get us. And I think that's a good thing. because his like last 4 or 5 weeks, if you look at what he's done, he's been a pretty much a consistent, double-digit points guy. The only aspect is he's not really clearing 20 points, right? So if you're looking for a guy that's going to be consistent, I think he's your guy. Now, Carr's back. The good thing is the Rams are extremely stout against the run. And if the Rams are stout against the run and Kamara's running is not, he doesn't really run anyways, and Jamal Williams running doesn't really work, then they're going to be throwing the football. Enter obviously dump offs to Kamara, and then I think it has to kind of be Olave. My other thing is, as good as the Saints defense is, I think the Rams offense is kind of clicking right now on all cylinders. Yeah. And I think if the Saints want to compete, they're going to have to put up points. I don't know if this will be a shootout, but I think what this will be is both teams moving the ball pretty effectively. And then, whether they stall with the field goal or there's like a turnover in the red zone, I think yards can be had both ways is basically what I'm getting at. So I do like Chris Olave just because the necessity will be there. I think the Rams are a good team and I think they're going to be able to put up points. And again, Rams bread and butter is stopping the run. And so they're going to have to throw the football. So Olave guaranteed 10 targets. He's guaranteed probably double-digit floor. So I like it. And what is it, half-point PPR? Yeah. I like that. I mean, and especially looking across, knowing that you're going against Garrett Wilson, who's got Simeon throwing him the football. So you feel a lot better about that.
Yeah, really, really Olave, but he's done like the floor side of Olave rather than like the you know what I mean? Like the ceiling side of Olave. Like he'll get the targets.
Even that is with the quarterback's not named Simeon, right? So we don't know what the hell Simeon could be awful, which he's been pretty bad. So I almost think that the force feeding of Wilson may not even be there as much this week. But the only thing on that side is it's probably the worst defense in the NFL in terms of giving fantasy points up, and that's the Commanders.
So we will see. See. Rachaad White, again, it's the Mostert energy that's just been carrying, and it's bound to disappear. I just don't know when, but the fact that he gets 20 touches gives me hope.
Yeah, he's automatic. He's absolutely automatic. The catches, the floor, the usage. And it's funny that you're going against Mostert on the other side, but yes, that is.
I know that breaks my heart, but it is what it is. And then Tony Pollard, he doesn't really have many options to debate these type of players. There's Gus Edwards on the bench. Could be a good start, but it's Monday night. But the other thing I wanted to tell you while you were looking at your team is that those decisions you're going to be making. There's 4 days of football this week. There's a Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So you can wait to make a couple of those decisions a little bit later. We got to look at specifically what time, but you can wait. Like if you're debating Puka versus Mixon, and you need like 28 points, actually Mixon's a bad talk because he can sometimes get you like 35 points. But if you have, Elliott versus Puka as your final option, you probably want to go Puka if you want like 30 points, right? Like so. Yeah. That's the thing. Timing also matters this week. And back to this topic, he's got Kyren Williams. I got Bijan Robinson. Tell me more about what you think about these two guys.
Bro, Bijan, I'm so worried. I am so worried that what's really dumb is Atlanta's in the thick of the playoff race. They could win the division easily still because the division sucks. So you would think that they're putting their foot on the gas, figuring out how to win the division. Yet this man had the audacity to bench Bijan after one fumble last week in week 15 in a season where Bijan's barely fumbled the football. None of that added up. And so what that means is we have a wild card at play here that goes beyond what Bijan can do on the field, that goes beyond the weather, that goes beyond all of these things that we can scope for. We don't know when Arthur Smith is going to have a stick up his ass and be like, you know what, Bijan, get your ass on the bench, bro. So I'm not going to lie to you. Matchup's great. I like the matchup against Indianapolis. They're in the thick of the playoffs. Both teams should be fighting for the playoffs, and Bijan's a stud. But would it surprise me at all if he gets 5 points or less? No, because Arthur Smith is a fantasy just demon.
You know what I'm going to do just to make myself feel a little bit better? I'm just going to go ahead and move Singletary as a starting running back and put Bijan at the flex just to teach him a lesson.
Yeah, that's true. Put him in his place. Maybe he'll tell Arthur Smith, be like, yo, bro, I'm getting put in flex spots now.
Yeah, that's my X factor, if anything. If Bijan gets me like 30 points, I can't even say that because Kyren Williams can drop 30 points too. But anyways,
so the good thing is you do have, it's a Thursday versus Thursday matchup for at least one of your players. So you get Olave versus Kyron on Thursday.
True.
And I think if that stays close or somehow lands in your favor, that's a big dub for you.
That's actually absolutely correct. The next one is Hawkinson, who's a nice floor guy, versus Kittle, who doesn't believe in floors and it's either ceiling or bust.
Yep.
So, who would you rather have?
Hawkinson for sure.
Yeah. Lately, it hasn't been so great, though. After Mullins' arrival, it's just he's only getting me 9.3, which is like a weird thing to say. But lately, tight ends have been on the rise. A lot of good tight ends out there. And I do have one of the best ones just chilling down here, right? Everything we just talked about on why there are no weapons and Trey McBride could get 3 touchdowns is a very, very serious conversation with the amount of targets he's getting. And that was against San Francisco, right? So now we're talking about the Bears defense, which I have been high on for the last month and a half. So that is telling me don't do it, along with this stupid rain prediction, which I'm going to be looking at very closely. But, we'll see. We will see how McBride plays out, and I might switch that over Hawkinson, or even I might even move Singletary out of there because it's against Cleveland to our next topic. Singletary is facing Cleveland defense. That's not a good run defense you want to face. So that's my possibilities there.
Ooh, okay. So, but the thing I see for you is you have some pretty impressive pivot options.
Yeah, I think okay ones.
Right now, as it stands, I would be taking Singletary out, and I would probably be throwing Ty Chandler in there if we know that Madison isn't playing.
Yeah. The only thing you fear for Detroit is their freaking run defense. They have been so stout. It's like top 5 in the year as far as not allowing people to run. All they do is allow people to pass, and they do that really, really well. Like they allow people to have a great time, but they don't allow people to run on them. That's my pivot point for why Chandler's not in the lineup at this point. But
so I'm with you. I think we think pretty similarly of Cleveland's run defense, right? Like, in the same vein, like they're probably pretty stout. So if they're both pretty stout, let's say Pierce is healthy, but we know it's Singletary's backfield, but let's say Madison is not healthy. Then you're just playing both guys against stout run defenses. One's going to touch the ball a little bit more. And one's playing against a pass defense that's atrocious. Cleveland at least is like pretty much stout all across the board. They're a pretty good defense. At least you can get a screen to Chandler for 70 yards. The passing in that game can open up Chandler's running because, again, Detroit is so susceptible to the pass, like just so susceptible to the pass that if we're seeing JJ gashing them for 30, 20, 30, at some point they're going to have to sit those defenders back. So I think if Madison doesn't play, I personally lean Chandler over Singletary. Both bad matchups. Chandler's got the explosion. Chandler's playing against a bad pass defense. But I think all of that could possibly go out the window if there's an even wilder scenario where you're possibly starting both of them.
Yeah, there's definitely a Waller scenario where I could be starting both of them, and I'm losing my mind because there are too many average weapons on this bench that almost all of them could be starting besides Thielen. My whole bench could start for me besides Thielen. If I'm desperate enough, right? Hopkins is at 1:00, so I can't be that desperate. But if I'm down, if Kyron Williams puts up 35 points and Olave puts up 3 points, Singletary is officially going to take over Bijan's role, and then I'm going to bench Bijan, and then I'm going to start Hopkins because I need some huge plays. And I know one thing for sure, Bijan's not getting 30 touches this game, right?
Yep, that's exactly true. He's not getting 30 touches or 30 points. Like, that's just not in his wheelhouse right now because Arthur Smith won't allow it. But like you said, Hopkins could have 4 touches and 30 points because he's done that already this year. Yeah, so what else you got?
That's basically it. As I don't really want to focus for another 10 minutes on the benches, but Aubrey, I'm just going to auto start. I'm not really thinking too deep at this. It's Miami. It's good weather. It's a high scoring game. I'm just hoping Miami's defense shows up a little bit around their end zone. And if for some reason Aubrey doesn't show up or doesn't get opportunities, it likely means Lamb's having a good day. So I'm kind of using them both as like one big unit of a player. And then, Young Wake, who it's indoors. Things are going to happen or things are not.
Who's a good kicker, but his fantasy points have been pretty bad.
Yeah, true. That's absolutely true. They're not the best. So hoping that stays. He was trying to replace Atlanta defense with the with the Bears defense, but that didn't happen. So he may pivot somewhere else. But, you know, and the Kansas City defense we already talked about. They're sitting right here waiting to play. That's Monday. We'll see. I don't know. Nothing is for sure, but Buffalo has lost a lot of key players, but they are playing like one of the worst offenses in the league right now out of nowhere. So
to me, I can't think of a better matchup, honestly, for defense than the Chargers this week.
Right. And a Buffalo team that's trying to make the playoffs, right?
That we just saw absolutely dominate that Dallas offense. And now they're playing Easton Stick. So, I mean, I didn't think Buffalo was a free agent in most leagues, but defenses have kind of circulated a lot because you have defenses play well and then just kind of not show up. So I did definitely go in both my leagues looking for Buffalo defense, and they don't exist. So I think personally, if that was the defense out there, even over the Bears defense, just the matchup alone, bro. Chargers, like, what are they going to do? Keenan Allen didn't practice. Like, they have nobody. They have absolutely
Keenan Allen
nothing.
basically gave up. He's like, wait, what are you saying? Like, I got to play with these like nobodies? Nah,
yeah.
He's not.
And Eckler's probably happier he's not seeing snaps. So again, that you want to face the Chargers. Honestly, forward thinking, if you're looking at week 17, who the hell are the Chargers playing? Because go pick up that defense. That's probably where you want to be. All right. So enough about league off record. I'm going to make this one quicker because I spent way too much time on that. Let's jump into league of record. I'm going to share my screen real quick and we'll just go through the lineup. Again, this is in the hopes that you and I take care of business and we meet each other in the finals. Pretty straightforward for me in this league. Obviously 10-4, second seed, first round bye, going against Riaz. Josh Allen is my quarterback.
Can't bench.
Yeah, can't bench Josh Allen, can't bench Kyron Williams. Saquon Barkley, I can bench, but we've already kind of talked about Saquon at nausea, and my option only to pivot from Saquon is Singletary. So we know the whole Singletary. Yeah, who plays Cleveland. So bad defense matchup, but Saquon, is what? Going to get volume out the wazoo. Singletary at least Pierce is there. So, we've seen a world where sometimes randomly they give Pierce the ball. But my fear with Saquon is very real, Shashowt, in that if this game somehow just gets out of hand, 14,
for sure.
He's not going to play.
It's going to go out of hand, and that's the biggest fear here. It's going to. Philadelphia just lost on Monday Night Football, got embarrassed. AJ Brown's pissed. Jalen Hurts pissed. Everybody's pissed. They're going to come out and play football, and that scares me. That scares all of us. That's scary. It's terrifying.
Yeah. I think what's sad is I'm like, God, just get me 5. If you give me 5, I can survive. If you give me anything less than that, then that's going to be a problem. So obviously that's where I'm at. Adams, my receiving situation is a little bit trickier in this game. Adams, Samuel, I can't bench Debo, unfortunately. He's too good right now. Rashee Rice,
you can't bench Rice either.
I can't bench him. He's been
the number 3 ranked wide receiver over the last 4 weeks.
Yep.
When it matters,
insane.
He's killing it.
Yep, volume insane, and the biggest thing that's killing it. Yes, look at these snap percentage, bro. Red. Oh, he's slowly getting there. He's finding his wave. Oh, but I don't understand what the hype is. Now they finally understand. 85% of snaps and 92% of snaps. Well, he's outpacing Kelsey so far. They get a favorable matchup against Vegas. They get a favorable matchup in the finals against Cincinnati. Rashee Rice seems like a league winner, so I can't bench him. Which leads me to the Olave question. Olave is on my bench. And is there anybody out of these 3 receivers this week that you would start Olave over?
I think we're going to see similar numbers from all of these players. I mean, Rice could have like a breakout day where he gets 3 touchdowns. I'm not sure if Adams is that guy anymore. You could probably maybe see 2 touchdowns on a really good day. But it is Kansas City, so they're going to be playing till the end, and they're going to need him. So he's going to be used. It's not like he's going to get shut down. That's not the case here. And Samuel, the upside is just too big, and he's on that incline of a season. I did mention the scary things about the Baltimore linebacker, so I don't predict, another 30-point game, but look at his floor here. His floor has been 18 points. Yeah. You can't bench these players. You just can't. Like you'll never be able to, you're going to see these nightmare situations in your brain if you somehow choose a guy who's coming off of a concussion and ankle injury on Thursday night over those 3 players. It's too risky.
So would you Olave or Devontae Adams this week if you had to?
Dude, Devontae Adams. Kansas City's pissed. Kansas City's going to put up a lot of points too. Patrick Mahomes has been the most visibly frustrated I've ever seen him. Things have to change, right? They're not they're still the best team in the league. I mean, in the weird fucking way, they're still the best team in the league.
There's no other team going into the playoffs right now. Would you be like, oh my God, like I don't want to face them? And I feel like Patrick Mahomes is going to be top of that list. So you're right. No matter how mediocre, average they look, it's still the Chiefs. So you're right. And, they played the Chiefs already. He had 7 targets, 5 for 73, 9.8 points. I mean, I wouldn't hate that if that's what he gets me. The thing you do have to keep in mind is it is L'Jarius Sneed. He is a big shadower. He shadows everybody. Yeah, he shadows everybody. Exactly. And since he shadowed Devontae that week, I think he had AJ Brown, Diggs, and he's been unreal. So I will say again, that Aiden O'Connell is obsessed with Adams. That Pierce is obsessed with Adams. Antonio Pierce understands who the best players on his team are. So all of that aura around Adams means you have to start him, but you also understand that the matchup is not ideal, and it's not the same ceiling with Adams that it once was. So I agree with you there. Last question before we go over to yours. Tight end position. Dallas Goedert just came back from injury. He's playing against the Giants. Solid 5-point floor, it looks like, since he's come back, right? But I do have this man sitting on my bench, Jake Ferguson. Target share, 8 targets, right? Consistency is there. The guy honestly looks like a really good football player when he touches the football. I just think there's a lot of mouths to feed, and it is Miami. But if I'm leaning Fergalicious over Goddard to start this week. I don't know where you're at.
I agree. Goddard's offense is refiguring out what they need to do to win games. And last week they chose run the ball to its core. AJ Brown was a decoy for most of the first reads. That's just not a good look for the passing offense there. I don't know. I mean, you've seen what Goddard can do. He's
a beast of a player. They're both great tight ends. Yes.
Yeah. Goddard is top 5 if you put all the tight ends in the same situation, right? It's just not the case right now because of this run first offense where he doesn't look to pass, and you're in an offense where all they do is pass besides handoff sometimes. So it's like I'm still leaning Ferguson, and it's Miami. There's no weather issues. It's just pass. It's gonna be a shootout. Like I want that more than, oh my God, AJ Brown got like the 5 of the 14 total passes this game, and then you're just like crawling because he got you 2 points. I don't know. Ferguson is safer. You feel more confident in the game. It just seems like the better option.
It seems like they'll need it more, right? I mean, Eagles could beat the Giants 45-0 with Jalen Hurts, 3 tush pushes and Swift running it, right? The Miami against Dallas is going to put up points, and Dallas is going to have to come, play catch up. So totally agree with you. All right, perfect. And it does look like I have the Bears. So I'm going all in on the Chicago Bears defense this week. I love the weather and I love the matchup. So keep talking to me all week about how much worse that weather gets. That's just going to make me feel better. All right, let's wrap this up by talking about your League of Record team.
Just pull it up.
Yeah. That's perfect. Yeah. It's so much better if I just real quick do it. Let's do that. All right, we'll share screen here. Let me get your matchup up. Let's go here. And here we go. All right.
Whoa, the percentage just changed drastically since the last time I took a look at this. But it looks like he's going Love. That's new. I didn't see that. He's going with a Packer combo against Carolina, which is smart, pretty smart. There, he's gonna get all the Packers points. Okay, interesting. That's a little bit scarier than I thought. Okay, so Love against Jackson. Upside on Jackson is much higher, but the floor for Jackson is also lower than Love. So
which is so weird.
I know. 13, 14, 11s, multiple 11s, multiple 14s. Like he's not even close to being my best player. And if he just has a good day for 2 weeks, I will be content. Cook he's literally their best weapon since the new head coach or Nick.
They're so smart, but it's not that smart. We've all been fucking preaching it. Why did it take the team so long? Why did Ken Dorsey never think that this guy was the answer? He's been phenomenal.
Yeah, he made such a bad decision. He got fired. So, I mean, he's clearly the second best player on that offense, as far as playmakers go. So, I mean, they're using him. I expect at least 20 touches next game. And the next up, Eckler. We'll see. I just don't know how Buffalo's defense is going to handle Eckler unless he rumbles into the end zone twice from the goal line, which is very possible because there's no more Herbert. That can happen. He's going against Rachaad White, who has a solid floor. He's going to get the same amount of touches as Eckler, if not more. Lot of green late in the season there. But we're just going to hope that things continue. And then Tyreek Hill versus this guy that's not even going to play, Keenan Allen. Who is he going to replace Keenan Allen with?
Yeah, let's take a look. So
Well, he's got Metcalf on the flex, so he's probably going to put Metcalf up
and then
at the wide
play,
receiver slot.
he'll either play Deontay against Cincinnati or he'll play Gibson. And if no Brian Robinson,
man.
Gibson's not a bad play.
It's against the Jets, though. They got a pretty stout defense. I'm going to have to go in the waiver wire pick and drop Hunt, maybe drop Kyler. And
you could probably drop Sermon. I mean, I saw you pick up Sermon. Yeah, I think Jonathan Taylor may play. That's the thing.
Yeah, the May is why I have him there. That's the only reason, and it's not even because I'm going to play him. I'm not going to play him. I just don't want anybody else to play
That's
him.
fair.
So it's pretty safe. He's going Darren Waller. That's the big change here. I mean, dude,
Interesting.
A lot of he's trying to hit home runs. He's like,
yeah,
dude.
He gets the assignment, bro. Look at your team. Look at the projections. Uno is the meme of the clown in the army. Like, he's put up the least amount of points in the playoffs, so he understands he's at such a disadvantage. And if Keenan Allen doesn't play, he really needs some home runs. Like, he's got no choice.
You're right. He's a very good fantasy player, and he's been playing for years, and he always makes the playoffs. So I trust his judgment. I think he's gonna put the best scenario. But if the Packers do bad and the Chargers do bad, he is doomed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, he's putting a lot of his eggs in those two baskets there. So that's going to be definitely tough. Waddle's been a nice story, but you're going Waddle and Hill against Dallas. So obviously give the advantage to you. Your stack's unreal. I mean, man, what an awesome game for you to watch. Cowboys, Miami. That's going to be
my God.
music to your ears.
Unless the Cowboys do really well running and then all things crumble. But
yeah. I mean, I guess that's true.
Hawkinson or Laporta, what would you do?
I would play Laporta.
Jesus. You know why I'm not playing Laporta?
Vikings?
It's just it's the variance. Like, he got 6 touches last game and he had 3 touchdowns. And it made him number 1 tight end for the year. He just leapfrogged all that hard work Hawkinson does all year long, catching 10 passes for 60 yards. And he said, watch me. So am I betting that against the Vikings defense? Do I think he's going to score 3 times? Probably not. Do I think he's going to score? Maybe. But do I want the consistency of 9 points? Yes. I will take that because Hawkinson doesn't really have bad days per se. A couple. 7 is his worst day. Versus Laporta, I guess early on in the season, but who remembers
I mean,
those days?
What I was looking at is a lot of times yes, fantasy is a lot about process over results. Do not be fixated on results. You're not going to find a tight end in the NFL, bro. That's all green for tight ends all season except one game. There's going to be very few consistent tight ends like that.
But that same tight end has had 3 different quarterbacks with wide receivers coming in and out, replacing running backs, losing their offensive. So I'm playing that into consideration, and look at the most recent numbers there, 8 and 7 versus the 15 and the 12, and the 12s we're used to. So, and JJ's back. He's going to be the number 1 guy. Addison's on the rise. They may need to go deep more. I don't know what that's going to be a game time decision. I don't know.
That is for sure a game time decision. It's a good problem to have because I don't think you're going to be upset with yourself starting either one of those two. Oh man, that's a tough one though. That really is a tough one. I think that's neck and neck. I think you just go with gut on that one.
Yeah. And then the rest is I'm going against Tucker, which sucks, but he's going against 49ers. We'll see how that goes. And then Dustin Hopkins, at this point, I'm just going all in on this man. I've used him since like week 5 or something crazy. Just going to see what happens.
He's number 2 kicker. He's a machine.
He's like the most averageous of all average kickers. He's getting you 7 points or 6 points minimum. So I'll take that from a kicker spot.
A bad Houston defense, and it's in Houston. So dome Dustin Hopkins. You're going to love that. Dude, your defense, Buffalo defense might be your best player, and that's saying something because your team is stacked. But
I'm pretty sure the same bench. Who's the bench defense right now? There is no bench defense. It's over. It was. Yeah.
You're just going Buffalo to the championship?
Yeah, it's done deal.
Oh, shit. Yeah, New England. That's right.
That's
why I was looking for Buffalo too. Yeah, that's right. They have back-to-back great matchups. Okay. Yeah, your lineup set. This guy's got let's be real. You have an uphill battle. He would need all of his players to probably play way above their averages. You could have your players even just play their averages, and you're handedly winning this game. So it is any given week. We've seen crazier things happen in fantasy football. But right now, I don't see the only really Laporta, Hawkinson. Everything else for your lineup is pretty concrete.
Yeah, can't change anything.
nah, dude, your team's been unreal. You've had the same lineup. They've been kicking ass. There's really no reason to, try to fix what isn't broken. But that's it, man. Do you have any players or anybody that you're considering in waivers or any other topics that we need to discuss?
A couple of Trey Sermon, just because of the maybe factor, and Baker Mayfield, we already talked about that. Bears defense, we already talked about that. Ty Chandler, we already hit that. McBride versus Hawkinson, done. Hopkins versus Singletary, we did talk a little bit about that too. Home run versus more safety. And then Kyler Murray versus Baker Mayfield, I already kind of answered that by showing my team by going Baker Mayfield over Kyler Murray. So yeah, those are all the main things. And then I highlighted huge on my notes, like Saquon, ? What do we do with Saquon? But that's going to be literally one of the toughest things as an owner to watching Saquon go against a pissed off Eagles defense, but he is on the field more than most other running backs. So can't even really make an argument to bench him. It's going to be something you're going to be just having to deal with.
Yeah, I talked about Saquon like 4 weeks ago. He's the player that you just don't want to watch his performances, and you hope it's a good one and not a bad one, because he busts his ass no matter how good or bad the performance is. He's never giving anything less than like 150%. And like you said, sometimes they go 3 and out so often, they can't move the ball. So, the time of possession is less and less opportunities in that regard. So you just I'm going to close my eyes in both leagues and pray when it comes to Saquon Barkley and hope that, we can get some vintage Penn State Saquon. But that is it, guys. Again, it is very, very important to construct your lineup the way that is necessary to win that matchup. Your opponent, what are you playing for? Weather, all of those factors are so important. What the head coach thinks about fantasy football, how much he doesn't like his running back, that clearly matters. Enter Bijan Robinson. So there is no shortage of variables that can help you win fantasy football. Hopefully this was a helpful episode. Best of luck in the semifinals. Best of luck to you, Shashowt. Best of luck to anybody else who is in the playoffs. Let's hope that we have a awesome finals showdown next week, because that'll make for an epic episode. I am Swikar. That is Shashowt. We are the only playbook. Have a fantastic week. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, non-denominational holiday. Enjoy your time with your loved ones. Take care.